is going to bring. It's going to be a good thing. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding it right now, and I know it's a tough time, but we have to stay strong. This YMCA will become a great, great entity, and it will certainly increase the quality of life in Caroline. I promise you that. It's happened everywhere.
Let me ask you another quick question. We've talked a little bit about the before and after school care program.
Yes, sir.
Just on a minute, could you just talk about that a little bit?
Oh, the before and after, we started with pilot programs at the Massett branch in South Stafford, and we quickly learned that so many parents wanted to have a before and after school program for their children. We quickly outgrew that program. We were able to make a penetration in Stafford County where we're in every elementary school, 17, and then we leveraged that success with Spotsylvania. We're in every elementary school in Spotsylvania. So altogether, we're in 33 elementary schools on a daily basis. That care is critical to parents that have to go and work up the road, that may be coming back 95 and they normally would get off and hopefully be home by 4:30, but all of a sudden they get caught in traffic. Our program goes at 6:30 in the morning. They can be dropped off, and they can be dropped off as late or picked up as late as 6:30. It is a growing program, Mr. Taylor. We fully expect and anticipate that the before and after school program will do very well in Caroline.
Okay.
And can I just add one other thing?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
And please understand that a large contingent of these children are on financial assistance. Last year, the impact that our financial assistance had on this community was incredible. Just in terms of dollars, the YMCA awarded over $1.1 million in the region for people that didn't possess the capability to, say, write a check at American Family or Goals. No disrespect to those organizations. They do a stellar job. But bottom line is, if they can't pay, chances are they won't be a member at those places. At the YMCA, depending on their ability to pay, they will become a member. And we know that. There's always an inherent risk whenever you go into a locality, that how much financial assistance. And I can tell you, my board of directors and the staff and other volunteers in the community are very proactive on an annual basis going out to raise money to make sure that we never say no to a child or a family. So we're very proud of that heritage.
Okay, one last question. The building itself, when it's all said and done, it's up and running, who does that building belong to?
Well, according to the terms of the agreement, I believe for the first 3 years it's a YMCA, and then the county has the option to purchase it at year 3.
Okay, at what cost?
I think it's, I don't think there's, I'd have to look and defer to our legal counsel, but I believe it's, you guys, honestly I'm not sure, but I don't think there's a cost associated. Mr. Emerson?
It's a formula.
It's a formula that should result in no cost to the county.
Okay, and that was my point. So we're going to end up with that $5 million building, $10 million, whatever that building is valued at. 3 years, the county will end up with that building.
If you choose,
if you choose to exercise the option.
If we choose.
If you choose to exercise the option.
Okay.
And part of the reason for the formula, there are a lot of details that may not be apparent from a casual reading of the documents that were required because of the type of financing that was used. Okay. And frankly, the ownership issue was one of those. So.
And I guess with all of the talk about the taxpayers' dollar, and certainly I would certainly hope that we can generate the contributions necessary. As I said, I wasn't on the board at the time, but I believe it was the intent, and still is, of the board that this facility would be paid for with contributions. I believe that was the intent, and I think that's still the intent. And certainly I hope that happens. But if by chance some terrible thing happens and it does not, and $1 of taxpayers' money is used, I don't know that would be the very worst thing in the world. And finally, there are 30-some thousand people, or close to 30,000 people in Caroline County. And you have to look very hard and long to find someone who doesn't know about the why, or who have not heard the controversy about the why. 2 or 3 people have an issue. I haven't had calls from people saying that they're angry with me. I've had calls from people who are excited about the wire. So I would not want you to leave thinking that there is a general feeling in Caroline County about the wire or the taxpayers' dollars. There may be, but I haven't seen them.
Yes, sir.
And they've not been in these meetings. That's all.
Thank you.
Mr. Riley, well, first of all, again, thanks for coming. I know you're supposed to be here a while back and you had a family issue.
Yes,
I hope
sir.
things worked out there, right?
Yeah, so far so good. Thank you, Mr. Silence.
I do want to say the Y is a great thing. My cousin and I, when I was probably 12 or so, signed up to learn to swim at the Y. He became a very good swimmer. I stopped at all the baseball fields and basketball courts on the way and never learned. So, but I did pick him up on the way back home. So it does work. It's a great program. It's good. And you and I have had several previous conversations about the Y, and you have said here tonight everything we said during those conversations. So I like consistency. It's all the same.
Well, I appreciate that.
One of the things you did say, and I think you kind of repeated today, was that the Y would not have come to Caroline if the Rappahannock Y Foundation or Rappahannock Y Agency had to raise all the money.
That's correct.
That's basically the case.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be honest, when I voted for it, I thought we would have many more contributions. And at payment 2, when we were short, I felt like I'd made a mistake. So what we're doing now with the foundation appears like the board's commitment to the Y is we're trying to make sure that the Y is successful. Whether I feel like I made a mistake or not is my own personal problem, and I will deal with that myself. But what we want to have in the end, from what it sounds like, nobody has said they hate the Y. They wish the Y would go away. We would like the Y. My personal thing is I like to basically do what I say I'm going to do. And if I say or believe that no taxpayer dollars would be used, I'd like to not be made a liar. You know, and that's going to be a hard issue. We're all going to work through it. It's going to be hard, but I think that's our bottom line.
Sure, I understand.
And that's where we are. So unless I'm checking to make sure I don't think I see anybody that says I hate the Y.
No, I don't think there are.
You know,
I appreciate that.
We may have people who hate the contract and hate the agreement or feel like they made a mistake, but we're going to try to work through that, which is where we are. So again, we appreciate you coming. I think those are all the questions we had. You're just going to follow up with some information to Mr. Cully. We did get your donor list. On there was like $49,000 worth of anonymous donors. We understand there's some people, you know, expect their privacy.
Right.
So we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for coming. I think we're done.
Thank you for the opportunity, gentlemen.
You have a good evening.
Mr.
Oh,
I've got just a couple more questions that I was going through. I'm sorry.
you already used 25. How many more
I'm
you
sorry.
want?
I'm sorry. One of the things, do you guys have is there a capital campaign right now? Because I know there's, like you said, the Richmond has, do you guys have some sort of capital dealing with Richmond to help pay for this Y?
With Richmond?
Yeah.
That's a different zone.
Yeah, it's a different territory. If they were conducting a capital campaign, it would be for their own efforts as it relates to their...
Because I've got right here in the minutes from April the 12th, 2011, Vice Chairman Akers stated, he has assurances from the YMCA director, that would be you, correct? You've been the YMCA director for a long time, that he will make a tremendous blitz into Richmond to make the capital campaign.
Say that again. Repeat that.
Vice Chairman Akers stated he has assurances from the YMCA director, you're the YMCA director, right? That a tremendous blitz will be made into Richmond to make the capital campaign.
No.
You're not familiar with that?
I'm
just. That's fine. That's fine.
Can I respond to that?
And I just have one more. and then I'll let Mr. Akers respond. The second question I have for you is, As far as the donations, these donations that we saw, I think, did you send them to our staff?
Yes.
Okay. As far as so like someone wants to donate right now, someone like we see, for example, some 2,000, some 500, whatever dollar donations. So they're just like, if I want to give to the YMCA and I'm, some particular restaurant in Carolina, I just write you. Am I writing the Rappahannock YMCA? Who am I writing the check to?
It's for the Caroline YMCA. Right now, the YMCA, because the infrastructure is not set up with the foundation, we needed to have an account. And we agreed temporarily, we being the Rappahannock Board, that we would use our account as a pass-through account temporarily until the foundation was set up.
Okay. So in other words, if I want to donate to the Y, there's like some sort of basically bank account where you're in charge of that just dedicated to Caroline YMCA.
No, we're using our operational account as a pass-through account, and we're keeping track.
So it's going through an operational. Okay, yeah. I understand that. Can I ask you a second question? I see on here one of the donations comes from Beverly Run LLC, which is a $10,000 donation. May I ask you, that's Abundant Life Academy. May I ask you when that donation came in?
I'd have to check. I'm not sure.
Could you get that for me as far as like when the donation was made?
I will do my best.
Okay.
Mr. Riley, if you could just send that to Mr. Culley also, and then Mr. Culley will distribute it to the entire board.
One other question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
The foundation that's being formed, is that foundation, that funding coming from the YMCA to start the foundation, Caroline? Are you the mechanism that's actually funding that?
No.
They don't, yeah.
So do you know how that's being set up? Or who funded that, or who's paying for that?
Not sure.
But it's not the Y.
It is not the Y.
Okay.
I think we're done with Mr. Riley. Thank you again for your time, Mr. Riley. If there are any questions among board members, I think there was a response or two to be made. Mr. Riley, we appreciate your time again.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Did you want me to respond to Mr. Black?
You want to restate it, or, well, I think Mr. Akers understands.
What's in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Riley.
In the minutes. I think what was said or intended to be said is the fact that we were going to use the Richmond market as well as the Fredericksburg market, and that would be a blitz into the Richmond market in order to see if we can get collections from that area. That has been made. We have made contacts with people in Richmond. That's exactly what we've done. Mr. Raleigh has been with me on at least 2 in Richmond as far as contributions. And we're going to make others down there. Yeah, we are going to look at the Richmond area as a donation center.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Akers can answer this as well. Right now, from what I can understand, I can count 5 YMCA committees, or something to do with the YMCA. We've got the Rappahannock YMCA, Mr. Riley. We've got a Caroline, which will be advisory board, okay, which Mr. Riley had stated could raise capital money, correct?
I don't know what their makeup is.
Okay,
I don't have any
but
idea.
they potentially could. We have there was original capital campaign committee when this was started. Is that correct?
There were people that had indicated, yes, I will serve, and most of those people are now on the foundation board.
So so that committee is defunct, or
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so the original committee is not. All right, then there was a YMCA startup committee.
That was a group that was meeting, and we were trying to get as many people in the county to serve on this committee to really promote the YMCA as to, hey, you need to look at joining the YMCA when it gets built. This happened a long time ago, and I say long time ago, this happened probably in 2011.
Do they still meet?
As far as I know, they do not. I have no idea.
All right. And then
I don't meet with them anymore, no.
So the last one is the foundation. So we have the 5. So the foundation makes up the 5th one, correct?
I am an accountant, but I guess that you're right.
So which one can we look to, I guess, to make sure that the taxpayer, I mean, because if there's 5, I mean, I would think that you would want one. If there's 5 entities out there, I would think that you would want one that's raising. Which entity can we look to raise the money?
Mr. Black, I'm going to say this with as much kindness as I can. My intention when I voted for the Y and when I talked in terms of the YMCA and promoting the Y, my full intentions were that there would be no tax dollars, no taxpayer dollars put into the building the final analysis. But let me share with you some of the issues that's happened. The YMCA is no different than any other entity. When there's complete controversy, when there is complete negative discussion about a project, people aren't going to step to the front and say, I'm willing to give. There have been several companies that have said to me, we're going to wait until things calm down. And so the more it's talked about, the more it is brought in, it appears that there's something illegal being done. And the more that is being discussed that it was a terrible idea, controversy has hurt the process. There's absolutely no question about it. And that's the problems that we have had with some of the fundraising events. I know of 2 local companies that when we first went to and talked, Mr. Brawley and I went in and talked to them, they said, absolutely, I'm all for it. One guy says, I own 4 different companies, and we could probably put naming rights on 4 different of the classrooms. When I go back and say, hey, when can we expect some of the checks to start coming in? He said, well, he'd been called by someone, but there is a lot of negative things, so I'm going to just wait and see what happens. The other issue is that the foundation was brought about to help with the Y, but to help with other things. Germanna Community College wanted to come into the county, and we didn't go with that. So this foundation would help along those processes. But what bothers me, to be honest with you, is this fact, when you and Mr. Seeley found out who was on that foundation board, you started making phone calls to those people trying to persuade them not to serve.
That is completely untrue. That is completely untrue.
That's
That is
the
completely untrue. That's as untrue as not one penny of taxpayer money will be used to pay for the YMCA.
Gentlemen.
And that
That is completely untrue. I'm sorry,
that
Mr.
is
Chairman.
what the final analysis is.
Wait, just respond to the specific issue that he asked a question about, and I think your response was pretty much done, right?
Yeah, I responded as fact to
Okay.
Richmond area. That's
Okay. Were there any other questions? And it's just,
Oh, yes,
Mr.
sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a statement?
all right, well, we'll wait for statements. Let me
Okay.
make sure we ask all the questions. Mr. Seeley, you have a question?
I'd just like to know how the foundation's being paid for, where the dollars are, because it's a 501c3, it's not cheap. Who's paying for it, where the money's coming from to do it,
Do you know how much it
and
costs?
what the mission statement
Do you
is
know how much
for
it costs, Mr. Seeley?
I'm pretty aware because
Well, how
Mr.
much?
Emerson,
Let him finish, Mr. Akers.
it's a question, how is,
Go ahead.
well, Mr. Emerson, what is it Sands Anderson charge to set up a 501c3? Because you quoted a number to an organization that you did it for here a few years ago.
It varies. I don't know that we quoted a precise figure, but the county's not paying anything for this.
Absolutely.
We'll probably write off some of the time as a donation to the foundation and bill the foundation for the rest of it. The county won't be billed for the work that's being done.
Okay. So Sands Anderson
it
is
could-
actually doing the
It
foundation.
could cost, yeah, we've got a tax lawyer working on it, and I've been working on some of the documents, the corporate documents, for them, and they had a consultant that they worked with as well. And I don't know how the consultant was paid, or is paid, or if they charged anything, but
The
we won't
consultant?
charge anything to the county.
I'm not sure how the process started or happened.
Yeah,
I spoke to Mr. Emerson a while back, 2-3 weeks ago, and he said he was working on the bylaws and things for the foundation, but the foundation itself would pay that back. So that's the case where we don't expect the county to have anything.
No, the county won't. And we have done
else,
this
but-
before for the, I mean, we set up Caroline's Promise. We set up the foundation that dealt with the Secretariat Museum, we set both of those up in the past for the county. So it's similar to those. But we won't, but we will not bill the county for it at all.
Okay. Statements, Mr. Black.
Yeah, once again, I want to make a statement here, and I apologize for getting heated a little bit. And once again, I've made the statement 4 or 5 times, but there's another board member here who's going to try to twist this around, that Mr. Black or Supervisor Seeley are against any sort of YMCA. Once again, I'm going to state for the record that a YMCA is a good thing. However, this was not predicated on the truth. This YMCA was not predicated on the truth. It was predicated on the fact, and it was stated over and over and over again, that not 1 penny of taxpayer money would be used to pay for the YMCA. That is all we would need to say. We need to move forward. We can't keep on picking at the scab. I get that. But we're not admitting to the fact that I have little faith that we're going to be able to raise $5 million and no taxpayers' money is going to be used. We've already used $60,000 to pay an interest-only payment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seeley, your statement is 3 minutes apiece at the most.
Mr. Chairman, that's fine. You know, it's always interesting, the negative publicity. I guess voting no was negative publicity for the YMCA. I didn't believe that we could raise the money locally. $5 million is a tremendous amount for any locality, especially Caroline. So voting no, I guess, may be considered negative. I'm sorry, I didn't agree. I don't think that that should be viewed. But the negativeness, is, as Mr. Akers will say, comes when suddenly the county...
No other names, just your opinions.
Suddenly the county has to come up with $60,000 for an interest-only payment. And I laid out the facts in an article, and I did it so that everybody could read the same thing. It wouldn't be said one district one way, another district another. Everybody's privy to the same information. Everybody can read it, and if they want the rest of the references, they're easily gotten. But it references and it lays out line by line where we are and what this document, they call a grant agreement, actually says. And that was my intent, just so everybody was on the same sheet. Nowhere did I say I wasn't going to, I was against the YMCA. Quite frankly, they provided the information I wanted, and I hope tonight they'll provide the rest. I'm just looking, again, for transparency. I've said that, I've stated that, and I think that's the most important thing going. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I guess we can't have it both ways, and I think that's what seems like we're trying to do, a balancing act. Again, I agree that after we look at the numbers, $5 million is a significant number, but again, based on my experience in volunteerism and working with organizations, working with United Way, there are people out there who are willing to support causes such as the YMCA, and I would just like to see us get on a path toward supporting and trying to get it done. Then if it doesn't happen, Mr. Black, I'm going to have to come to you and say we spent taxpayer dollars, if it's even a penny, because, you know, I said to you, my goal is not to spend, I'm going to support this because I believe we're not going to spend taxpayer dollars. So I'm with you there that we had to pitch in and help. It would have been nice for the YMCA organization to pitch in and say, hey, I will help also. We understand, but it didn't occur. But I still believe at the end of the day, Mr. Black, I'm going to be able to come to you and say, the project is over, it's running, and we're going to be able to ensure that taxpayer money is not being used. That's my hope. That's my goal. And I'm hoping I still can say that to you.
Mr. Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I'm encouraged from the standpoint that what I'm hearing from board members, and I'm going to take them at their word, that you've got your questions answered. Let's move forward as a group. My intentions have always been, and they have never wavered, and I have not wavered in trying to do everything I could. And I'm the only one out there, along with Barney Rowley, that's trying to raise funds so that the taxpayers of this county do not have to foot any of the bill for the YMCA. And some of the foundation members have started to help us along those lines. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to be out there and to raise as much money as we can. And I certainly invite other members of this board to let's now get on board and let's work together and let's move forward and make sure that the taxpayers of this county do not have to foot any of the bill for this building that the county will ultimately own. I want to do it. I want us to do it together. It does us no good to be at each other's throat at every meeting over an issue such as this. It just absolutely makes no sense in that. I know some didn't vote for it, and that's fine, and that certainly was not negative. Anybody that votes against an issue doesn't necessarily mean they're negative about that issue. It means they don't agree with it. And I voted no on issues. Doesn't mean I'm negative about it. It just means I didn't agree with it. And so that is not the issue. The foundation, I truly believe, is a mechanism that can be used, that can go out and solicit funds from people that I cannot because of the position that I hold on this board. I cannot go to those companies. I've said to many people, certainly I don't like it. It certainly bothers me that I'm hammered almost quite often about my position on the why. My position on the why hadn't changed. I still support it. But I'd rather be hammered sitting in my house than to be sitting in jail because I did something illegal. And I will, as I have said to people, I will not sell my soul for the YMCA. I'm going to do everything I can to get it paid for. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that taxpayers' dollars are not included in it, but I'm not going to sell my soul for it, and I'm not going to do anything that's going to land me in jail for it. Simple and pure as that. And so I'm glad to hear the board members tonight saying, let's move forward with this issue now. Let's put it behind us and make sure it can be the best Y in the whole Rappahannock area. And Caroline County can be the best one that's out there. And I'm glad to see that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chandler?
Again, I believe that in the beginning, and I believe still, that it was the intention of the board that taxpayers' dollars would not be used to pay for this Y. Will that happen? We have to wait and see when the time comes. But I can tell you this, if there were no chance of taxpayers' dollars being used, we wouldn't have had to make the loan in the first place. The reason the loan had to be made was to secure the cost of the building. Because contributions, you can't borrow money on contributions. But again, we have to wait and see. I think the final thing is this. We talk about this taxpayers' dollars like it's heaven and earth. But if we make any money off the Y, are we going to give it all away? Are we going to be as forceful about the profits that come in as we are about the possibility of having to pay a few dollars? Hopefully, it will be paid for with contributions. But if not, I believe it's going to be a great thing for Caroline County, and whatever dollars are put in it, I believe we're going to benefit from it. Thank you.
All right, I don't even need 3 minutes. I think we're good. My concern was, and I believe I said my exact comments before, were even if we make the last few payments, it'll be a good thing for the county. Needless to say, I was extremely disappointed when we were using county funds to supplement payment number 4 of quite a few. So I think that is obviously something we need to fix, and we need to fix fast. And that's where I'll leave it. All right, so we are finished with that. Do we have to do PRTC tonight? I think we're going to pass on PRTC tonight. Thank you, Mr. Fincham. And we're going to pass on proposed public hearings to Mr. Fincham. Thank you. Mr. Taylor, we're going to have a 2-minute summary of Port Royal boundary if you would like to do that or not.
I'm fine with the Port Royal boundary, Mr. Thomas. I only wanted it on the board in case there were board members who had issues, who felt like we need to meet with town council or we need to have a work session to take care of any issues that they may have. I don't have issues. I support the boundary adjustment. I think it's needed, and I hope the board will support it.
Okay. They didn't, the town council didn't take us up on the offer to have a work session beforehand.
They didn't respond, or just
Well,
no?
I think the town council did not necessarily, they were on offering a work session if the board wanted it. The board didn't
Okay.
make any.
I mean, they were here,
Right.
and we said we set the public hearing date and said, if you would like to have a work session with the board before then, feel free to do so. And I guess the board didn't want to, or they didn't want to, I don't know either or, but it didn't happen.
I think they were just, they made themselves available to the board if
Okay.
the board had concerns.
Then we're done with that, then we have a public hearing on the 24th, and we'll go from there, right? Okay. New business, Mr. Parton, you want to make the correction to the minutes, or is Mr. Cully going to make the correction to the minutes? We had an omission in our August 9th minutes. Mr. Parton explained that the videotape showed everything as it was, but somehow the transcribing in the minutes missed something.
Yes, sir. That's it.
And in the spirit of openness, let's be specific about what we missed.
We missed I failed to
We.
provide to Mrs. Hall the vote following the closed meeting on the YMCA grant agreement and ground lease. As you indicated, it's clearly on the video. I actually have the notes of the agenda from the meeting, but it did not get included in the adopted minutes.
Okay. Do we have a summary? I don't have that in front of me. I didn't click on it, but
You should have in your packet.
it is in my
yeah.
packet. The change or the addition we're making says specifically what? That we voted 4-1. Oh, thank you. The yellow part?
Yes. Proposed amendments in yellow.
Okay. The roll call vote, Supervisor Akers moved and Supervisor Popowitz second to approve the grant agreement between Caroline County and the Rappahannock Area YMCA and the ground lease agreement between Caroline County and the Rappahannock YMCA, subject to review and revision by the county attorney based on insurance requirements. That's what we
correct.
failed
That
to
was-
get. And that vote passed 4-1.
Yes, with Mr. Seeley voting no.
Mr. Akers voted yes, Mr. Popowitz voted yes, Mr. Thomas voted yes, and Mr. Underwood voted yes, Mr. Seeley voted no. That's what we're modifying the minutes to say. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Akers for the correction of August 9th, 2011 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Parton. Mr. Schiebel, although we're talking about spending a lot of money for the driveway paving, you're going to give us the Reader's Digest version.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Originally in the contract for the wastewater treatment plant, we started at $18 million and whittled the contract down to about $16.4 million. In doing so, $500 and some thousand was removed for paving the driveway and the road around the wastewater treatment plant itself. As such, we have looked at other alternatives to paving and found surface treating to be a great option at a cost of $58,395. It would be a straight-through cost through the contractor with no markup and overhead and profit to him.
Because there's $540,000 remaining in the contract.
That's correct.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, this just escapes me. It says the subtotal is $16,729,430. After a $58,000 change order, the total price is $16,729,430. I just,
Okay, I'm not where you are. What are you?
I am
what
on
page are
the,
you
on the change order page, the page just before the signature, it says
Following
change.
changes are hereby made to contract documents?
Following changes are hereby made to contract documents, yes.
Right above it?
Change to contract price.
They just didn't add it in there. They didn't add the numbers. Right here, forward.
I don't know how you can,
Okay. So you questioning their math?
well, if there's no cost,
Increase, decrease, 58,395 wasn't added. That's the ground surface treatment of the road. So it would add that to the number.
Yes, 16,787,825.10.
So that's what the new,
well, my question is there was an addition, but the numbers above and below were exactly the same. So it was a no-cost change order.
would have been nice, but it's a $58,000 change order. And there's $540,000 remaining in the original contract.
Well, I think this money's coming out of Caroline Pines.
That's where it was say a lot of savings was in the.
Of course, earmarked, it was
earmarked for utilities.
right at 20 million, almost $20 million.
It's all the same
Same
loan.
borrowing.
Same loan, same borrowing
The two
for
were
both
together.
projects.
Okay. I don't remember what the two different numbers, there were actually two different numbers, and we must be over on one and under on another.
We were under on Caroline Pines, weren't we?
That's correct. About $1 million in Caroline Pines.
Yeah.
And how much are we over on the wastewater treatment plant?
$277,340 plus the $58,393 if we do that. But right now, $277,000, which was $58,000 in unsuitable soils and $210 for change order 2, which was to upgrade the generator and transfer switch.
The soils, we kind of knew what we were going to get hit with anyhow, because we'd already gotten into the project without having that part of the project defined.
And the change order 2 for the $200,000 for the generator actually was at our request because it saved us money instead of having to pay Rappahannock Electric for the
to bring the
separate.
line in.
So both of these, the last two change orders are at our request, not for the contractor. Unsuitable soils were part of the contract. We knew if we hit bad soils, we'd have to deal with those.
That's pretty good, yeah, considering it's swampland. So we're 277 over on one, $1 million under on the other. So we're $700,000, fuzzy math, to the good. Six and change.
And we do
By the
have,
time it's reconciled, it ended up, I mean, myself and Fran went through it, we're $540,000 and something that we have remaining of the funds.
Okay, that's not our money. The money's
It's-
going to go back
it's
to the
borrowed.
loan. The money's going to go back to the loan as soon as the project's finished. We're not
Mr.
gonna-
Rogers wants to have a discussion with you about that.
Who does?
Courtney Rogers, there's a penalty for you to turn your money in. It's going to be quite costly. But that's at a future date when we get done with the project and
I
we know
was
where we're
feeling
at.
so good today, Mr.
I understand.
Sheeple. Thank you very much for
We
helping
thought
me
the
out.
same thing would be turned back in.
Okay.
we do have one other change order that will be coming forward on the SCADA system on the well side that we haven't worked all the way through. But that's the only other one that we know of in the pipeline.
Right.
SCADA's is the...
Supervisor control and data
telemetry, right?
acquisition
That's
system,
correct.
correct.
That's the telemetry.
And actually, there's money in the well project. When we put the new wells in, we didn't have telemetry on those wells. We wanted to put that on there because we were upgrading the entire telemetry system at the plant. We didn't want to have the contractor from Ohio come down and charge us a lot of money and try to incorporate it into the new system. So we've been trying to wait. We're at the point now where the contractor wants to do that, and he's going to upgrade other portions of that also to make it all compatible.
Okay, because you're the only one with narrowband radios now, which is
correct.
another story. All right, do we want to approve the purchase order? Change order?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Cully, we're going to do capital projects report.
You know, we included in your packet the updated the capital projects report, and you'll see the percentages on all the various capital projects. We're near completion on almost all of them, including obviously the school, and then you'll see that Our next meeting, we need to recess because we'll meet here at 4:30. It's a dinner meeting with the Soil and Water and Extension, the 50-mile meal, like we did last year. And also on the 26th, you'll see we have a Arts Center dedication for the Sidney King Arts Center. That'll be at 5:30 to 7 at the Sidney King Center. So that's work going on with that. And, of course, the day after that, the State Fair starts. So we've got a fair amount of things going on toward the end of the month.
All right, thank you. Closing board comments. We're not having a closed meeting, are we? Oh, because I was leaving. Mr. Black?
None at this time.
Mr. Seeley?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
No, sir.
Mr. Taylor?
Only that I have 2 scheduled constituent meetings. And one at Upper Caroline on Monday, September 30th, and in Port Royal on Thursday, October 3rd. That's all I have.
You already worked out the arrangements, or you just telling me?
Well,
Asking
typically I have, but I'm going to
Okay.
get confirmation.
Okay. All right. My closing board comment is Mr. Wilson is going to bring to us on September 24th, I guess Mrs. Beard. Mrs. Beard will head up on September 24th our elementary school Name the Whale contest. And they're going to get free tickets to the State Fair. And they are, I'm trying to remember, 4th grader. The winner was a 4th grader or something like that. But it's a great name. I'll just leave it out there so you'll know. And the suspense will probably kill you for 2 weeks. All right. Motion to adjourn to September 24th?
So moved.
To adjourn.
4:30?
Recess.
Adjourn to and recess to are the same thing?
Recess to 4:30 on the 24th.
This says adjourn to. Adjourn to and recess to are the same thing. Continue the meeting?
We'll continue tonight's meeting, September 24th at 4:30.
4:30?
Here at this building.
Second?
In the OC, in the Operations Center rooms.
Second? Is there a second?
So moved.
Mr. Taylor seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.